What is computer BIOS? Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to discuss computer BIOS. First of all, what is computer BIOS? BIOS stand for Basic Input-Output System. BIOS is the program a computer's microprocessor uses to start the computer system after it is powered on. It also manages data flow between the computer's operating system, OS, and attached devices, such as the hard disk, video adapter, keyboard, mouse and printer. The first thing BIOS does is to initialize and test the system hardware components. Its goal is to ensure that the components are attached, functional and accessible to the operating system, OS. In case any hardware component isn't accessible, BIOS pauses the booting process and issues a warning. The BIOS is responsible for loading basic computer hardware and booting of the operating system. The BIOS contains various instructions for loading the hardware. It also conducts a test which aids in verifying if the computer meets all the basic requirements for booting. You can enter BIOS mode on your computer by pressing a combination of keys after you power on your PC. The key or keys may differ depending on your computer, but some of the most common ones are F1, F2, F10, F12, Del, or Escape. These keys must be pressed quickly before the Windows logo appears. BIOS can be used to configure hardware components such as the CPU, RAM, hard drive, and other peripherals. You can also use the BIOS menu to configure boot order. For example, you may want to set boot from a USB drive as the first option if you want to boot into an operating system on a USB drive. You can also use BIOS to boot into safe mode. Safe mode is a mode that only boots the basic functions of your computer to allow you to troubleshoot any problems you may be having with your PC. On older computers you can enter safe mode by repeatedly pressing the F8 key as your computer power up. In Windows 11 you can boot into safe mode from BIOS by pressing F8 or Shift plus F8 during your PC startup. You can update your computer's BIOS by using a USB flash drive. Boot into the PC's BIOS, aka UEFI, environment and use the menus there to load the BIOS update that you've put onto a USB flash drive. BIOS Flashback, available on some higher-end motherboards. This allows you to update without booting the PC or even having a CPU installed. Always be careful when updating your computer's BIOS system. Each motherboard model requires its own BIOS version, so an incorrect or even a slightly different BIOS version can cause major problems. If something goes wrong, such as a computer losing power during the update, it can eventually brick your computer and cost hundreds to repair. Updating the BIOS will not delete your files because updating BIOS has no relation to your data on a hard drive. However, if the installation of a new version of BIOS fails, it might damage your computer and result in data loss. BIOS updates will not make your computer faster, they generally won't add new features you need, and they may even cause additional problems. You should only update your BIOS if the new version contains an improvement you need. You can also reset your computer's BIOS to its factory default. How to reset the BIOS from the BIOS interface. Turn on the computer. Tap the F2 key several times until entering setup appears. Reset the BIOS to factory defaults. Press the Escape key and select Save and Exit or Exit. Press the Enter key to save all changes and exit the BIOS setup screen. The computer restarts. To summarize, computer BIOS stands for Basic Input-Output System. It starts your computer and controls the data flow from your CPU to your hardware. It can detect any misconfigurations and give you an error message if something fails. Your PC will not work if for some reason your BIOS system fails. Each computer requires its own BIOS system unique to that computer. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more internet-related videos.